Please come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Carr has asked to be excused tonight, as well as Director Garcia, Director Gokogandi,
Present.
Director Leonard,
Present.
Chair Simpson.
Present.
We have 3 committee members present, and we also have Vice President Taylor and President Peterson joining the committee.
Welcome, Vice President Taylor and President Peterson. The chair will now ask the secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The chair invites any members of the audience who wish to participate to do so and asks those who do not wish to participate to remain silent during the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This meeting is being conducted in person from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public access and participation as possible, this meeting is also being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la Junta Escolar de las Escuelas Públicas de Milwaukee. Si desea escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor llame al 312-626-6799. Nuevamente, 312-626-6799 e introduzca el número de reunión 608-130-5362. Nuevamente, el número de reunión es 608-130-5362. Gracias.
Thank you. For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. Those who wish to speak on tonight's items were required to register to speak in advance of the start of the meeting. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. I ask those of you who are waiting to speak virtually to remain on the platform until you are called upon to speak. After a speaker's time is up, they may continue to follow the meeting at one of the broadcast options mentioned previously. For the sake of fairness and to give everyone a chance to speak, the chair reserves the right to limit the length of time allowed to any one speaker. Written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Send this testimony to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201-2181, or fax it to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair of the committee. Also, any questions or requests, including those from the public, committee members, or administration, are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. For the safety of all and to ensure the good order of the meeting, harassment or intimidation tactics of any kind will not be tolerated. Anyone who engages in such harassing or intimidating words or actions will immediately be asked to cease. If such behavior continues, a recess will be called, and the offending parties will be removed from the meeting before the meeting resumes. Anyone ejected from the meeting may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, he or she will not be allowed to rejoin the meeting. Also, no one other than members of the board and those who have been invited to present or participate in items of business will be allowed on stage before, during, or after meetings of the board and its committees. Also, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the Meetings, Agendas, and Minutes page on the MPS website and choosing Online Agendas. Now let's begin. Madam Secretary, item number 1.
Item number 1 is a report with possible action on the MPS M-Cubed College Connections Program. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would the administration please present this item?
Yes, Chair Simpson and members of the committee, Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. This evening, we have with me James Sokolowski, as well as Matthew Zelmer, who will be providing some information, and after which we will answer any questions that you may have. But we also have two of our fantastic students, Haley and Gabe, who's here with us from the School of Languages, as well as Golda Meir School. James, take it away.
Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, and MPS administration. My name is James Sokolowski. I'm the Post-Secondary Engagement Coordinator in the Department of College and Career Readiness. So MCube College Connections definitely touches the two goals for success of increasing academic achievement and accountability, as well as improving district and school culture. It probably could touch on some of the other things, but those are two of the most important ones. So if you're not familiar, MCube College, well, first, MCubed is a very broad initiative between Milwaukee Public Schools, Milwaukee Area Technical College, and the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. There are a lot of, various initiatives that this group is engaged in with the kind of goal of transforming Milwaukee through education. And one of the direct service pieces that MCubed is involved in is the creation of MCube College Connections, which is the program that we're presenting on. We're in our 5th year of implementation. We are moving into our 6th recruitment year for our general program, which began in the 2018-19 school year. We also have a nursing pathway that started shortly thereafter, and we will be recruiting our 4th cohort of nursing students. Those students have a 2-year program where they have the potential of gaining a license, practical nursing license. And there is actually a story that just came up on the front page of our NPS homepage just as we were about to walk in here today. So if anybody's interested in that, you can check it out. And then there is also an education pathway, which is part of MCube College Connections, that is a little bit newer, and it's a little bit more of a struggle, but we are continuing to work on that to improve it and tweak it and make it more accessible and interesting for students. So this next page is some demographic information on who has participated in MCube College Connections to date. You'll see that we are very close to district averages in most of our, most of the populations that we're serving. There are some areas certainly where we are looking to improve, and my colleague Matthew Zelmer will talk a little bit more about that later. This slide right here is interesting because it shows who our students are academically. So on the left side, you see their ACT scores, and on the bottom is their GPAs. And you see there's a wide range. The lowest GPA admitted into the program was a 1.7. The highest was a 4.4, and the average is around a 19. But I think it's important to note that there are a large number of students that are sitting in between like that 15 and 20 ACT range, where a lot of times, especially if you're talking about 15 to 17, it's going to be very challenging to get into college. And so this, as an equity piece, right, this allows those students to get started early, have those college credits, and be able to be admitted into the colleges when they finish the program. There's also a number of students who we didn't have ACT scores on that you see at the bottom. And then I just wanted to highlight the one that's circled in red. That particular student, high achieving in terms of GPA, but did not do well on the ACT at all. I think the score was a 12, but they were admitted into the program, and they did exceptionally well and left the program with full ride scholarship. And I don't know if that would have been possible had they not participated in the program and shown how they could show up for college if in admissions would have been looking at those ACT scores. And I will now turn it over to my colleague, Matthew Zelmer.
Thank you, James. Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, and MPS administration. So here for you now, we have some grade distribution in this pie chart up through last year's fourth cohort of College Connections, the breakdown of grades, and we're very proud to show that A, B, and C, so the passing grades by a college standard, not just an MPS standard, have been met by 80% of our participating students. There was a period during the pandemic where students were taking classes pass or fail, and all three M cubed schools, MPS, UWM, and MATC, agreed to do this and were proceeding that way at the time. But this pie chart is meant to show you what that the highest grade earned, the highest percentage is an A, followed by a B, and then a C. So more outcomes for you. You see the number to this point, having participated in College Connections, is 475. Students have earned over 4,800 college credits. 70%, 96% of students in the program have earned a college credit. That 4% that hadn't were in almost all cases sent back to their high schools, maybe choosing not to participate in the program moving forward. Also, 70% of the data from the first three cohorts, the fourth cohort is not available as we present tonight, but 70% in those first 3 years have gone on to post-secondary enrollment, and many of those are at MATC and UWM, so a lot are staying home. So in the name of continued collaboration and continuous improvement, all three institutions participating in M Cubed have brought on new support in continuous service to our students. Very, very pleased to offer a broad range of supports that includes not only academic and direct teaching supports, but our support here in the district as well as access to tutoring services, counseling services in this time of increased awareness regarding mental health. We really think that we are able to do a lot of different things to be a well-rounded program to help turn our high school seniors into well-rounded students and prepare them more for college. The intentional outreach that we're currently engaging in to Black and Latino males, historically in the program, the percentage of females participating is about 3 times higher than that of males. So we do make a concerted effort to recruit males, particularly at application review time. And given the large Black population in MPS and in the city of Milwaukee, we do have a higher concentration of males and African American males this year than we have had, at least compared with last year, when I was fortunate to join the program staff. Students with disabilities, we are currently meeting with special education staff in the district as well as administrators from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, and are continually engaged in discussion about how to intentionally increase our enrollment among students with disabilities, which has been low, but we have a few this semester that have received special education services in MPS in the past that to this point in the program this year are thriving, so we're pleased with that. And the same type of outreach is occurring to English language learners, and that extends to our nursing pathway. One of our current students is being supported in that realm, and we think she's in a good position for success. The education pathway, as James alluded to, has been redesigned as an internship starting in the second semester of junior year. and then continuing on with a full college course load in during their senior year. So we're working on getting internship opportunities for those students now, and then more scholarship opportunities as we've added support. Some of that has led to increased scholarship opportunities. The newest piece, UWM has a scholarship available, $500 a semester for up to 3 semesters for MQ students. And with that, I am pleased to introduce 2 of our shining students in this year's cohort. First up will be Abel Mabita of Golda Meir High School, and then we'll have Haley Schock from Milwaukee School of Languages. Abel.
Good evening, Chair Director Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Abel Mbida, spelled M-B-I-D-A. I'm here to present you my honest opinion on the highly overlooked M-Cubed program. I believe this to be a great opportunity for any student who has future aspirations in any form of post-secondary education. This program is a great way for students to get comfortable in a college environment, develop and grow as students, as well as taking advantage of the costs being covered so students are able to get ahead on credits without having to pay anything. I am a senior at Golda Meir High School and currently have 0 classes on my high school campus. My main reason for joining the M-Cube program was to earn as many credits as possible. The M-Cube program has provided me with a full schedule consisting of algebra and trigonometry, English 201, ethnic studies 106, and new classes second semester, all off campus at MATC and UWM. My experience in the program has been smooth. I appreciate the freedom that this program allows me to have, as well as a spread out schedule. I was more than prepared for my classes, as I felt that I had all the skills needed coming into the program. I have found the coursework to be very manageable. With 1 class a day, it has been very easy to schedule time to work on my assignments without having to feel like I'm doing a lot of work all at once. Along with having 1 class a day, we tend to get bigger assignments since we meet in each class 1 to 2 times a week. Breaking up the assignments has definitely been the easiest way by far to manage all of the workload. Within the classrooms and throughout the program, the instructors as well as the M-Cube coordinators have made it a big point for students to communicate not only with the instructors and staff, but also with their classmates, as M-Cube students come from many different schools. I'm unsure specifically what my future plans are, but I want to be an entrepreneur and have been accepted into a prestigious culinary school. I'm grateful for the college experience and support M-Cubed has provided me as I chose, and I am in a better position to succeed because of this program. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm sorry. Good evening, Chair and members of the board. My name is Haley Schock, and I'm a senior at Milwaukee School of Languages. I wanted to participate in MQ because of the opportunity to challenge myself. I had amazing teachers at MSL that pushed me to do this program because of the advanced grades and credits I have. I had the option to graduate early, however, because of the setback of COVID, I did not feel that would suit me. That's where the M-Cube College Connections program came into the picture. Having the option to earn free college credits my senior year while graduating in June was the best option for me and my plan. I filled out the application and took an art class over the summer, and now I am here. Simply the best decision I've made in my high school career. Up to this point, my experience in the program has been challenging, and I've learned a lot about myself. Taking a couple classes a day, the amount of free time I have, has given me room to apply for college and improve my study habits. The classes have been challenging, which I enjoy and have learned a lot. I stay at the MATC campus after school to work on homework, applications, and studying. The culture of the campus is so incredibly diverse, and the energy is so positive from fellow classmates. I have made friends through this program, and the support from the staff has been amazing. As of now, I plan on going to University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. And I have so much thanks and appreciation for this program because it makes me feel prepared and supported for next year. Thank you.
That concludes our presentation. We can take any questions you might have.
Thank you so much for that. Especially appreciate the students who are attending this evening. Thank you very much for coming to this committee. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask any questions? Director Leonard.
I guess I'm looking at what is the capacity? What do you think the capacity would be to grow this program? That'd be the best way for me to ask that.
So we struggle with this question all the time. We have been seeking to try to get up to 120 students in our general pathway. We've, over the last couple of years, kind of hovered right around 100, which is a pretty good number to manage for up until last year. It was just myself, but now I have Matthew assisting, and 100 is a good number to manage. With the level of staffing that we have right now, I wouldn't push it past 140. And so I think if we got to 120 next year, we might be having conversations, okay, how do we increase the supports to make sure that we can be there and show up for the students the way that we need to. For the nursing program, that since its inception has kind of had a hard cap of 32 students each year. It's a 2-year program. The classes at MATC, there's times when they're broken into classes of 8 students only, so that 32 gives us like 4 different class groups. And I don't really see any reason why you'd want to go beyond 32, at least for some time. And then for our education pathway, we've been looking to try to get, 10 to 20 students, and we've gotten, students around like 10 that say they're interested, and then, you get maybe a third or half of that actually want to continue. So,
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, one of the things that we were trying to do when we started this program is to make sure that we give every child in this district an opportunity to take a class on the college campus, every single individual, and that's been our goal from day one. We have set dollars aside for tuition costs for those students to make sure that happens. We are looking for an opportunity to grow. If we have students that want these assignments, want to go out to the college campus, we're going to do everything we possibly can to make it happen.
Any follow-up, Director Leonard?
I guess just a comment. So one thing that you've sort of just inferred is that without the staffing, it would be very difficult to go beyond 120 students.
well, so to clarify, in the way that this program is designed, where they're taking a full college course load, we have done other things, to Dr. Posley's point, where we've offered like other classes where students might leave their school and take one class, similar to like early college credit programs, Start College Now. And those are a lot different, but for this like cohort thing, to give the type of supports that we do now, that would be something that would be important. I mean, if you were able to just let everybody go and fly and do their thing, then you could create a whole new, college campus.
We want it to be successful. That I agree. And well, I guess it's something that we have to discuss, and I guess it's not something we would bring up at a board meeting right now. But I think that this has got a lot of value to it. I was reading the handbook carefully as compared to last year when I received it. So I'm impressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Director Taylor?
Thank you for that, Madam Chairwoman. And I like to always hear from our babies when them talking in the program. Sounds great. But because we can only cap it at 100, versus going over 120, what are the requirements of those individual students who may want to get into the program, and do we have a waiting list?
Administration.
All right. So we haven't So to Dr. Posey's point, when we started this program and we were like, we're seeing the success and he wants, to get as many students as we can. I remember Dr. Posey saying is however many students that are qualified that can be in the program, we'll take them and we'll figure it out. The reality is, sometimes students want to stay at their school. Some of the students that are qualified for various reasons. But in terms of taking more students, we've taken every qualified student that we can. We've gone after students, we've called homes, we've gone to schools to try to get more students every year. All the students have to go through a process where their transcripts, all that is looked at, reviewed by both UWM, MATC staff, as well as our staff. And that, there's a lot of interesting conversations when we're looking at, what students' credentials are. Then we also give students opportunity to write personal statements. So, many times we're in these meetings and our NPS side staff is like, hey, this student might not have all the grades you want, but look what they wrote. Like, they're the first in their family to go to college, we're going to advocate for those students. So, but I guess the short answer is the eligibility requirements are, the average student comes in with like a 3.4. The lowest, like I said, was like a 1.7. The colleges look for like a 2.75, especially UWM. And all these students are automatically, when accepted into this program, they're automatically admitted into UWM if they so choose to go there. So we want to make sure, we're not harming students in any way either. So you could bring a student in to a college class, and like Matthew said, there's times when we just say, you gave it your best shot, but we're going to have you go back to your high school. Now you kind of know what this game is, and, get ready for it next year when you graduate.
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, there's a couple other ways in the district in which children can receive college credits. That's the AP classes as well as IB classes as well, and we have a number of schools that offer AP and IB. But this was an opportunity to have the real, authentic life experience on a college campus and to go that route. One of the things that James is talking about is the idea that we wanted to make sure that we had someone working with our children and being on campus and being there with them to make sure that they can work with their study skills and things of this nature. So that's the reason why the group that he's talking about as far as a number, and he talks about the 2 individuals that are doing just that, but any other student that wants to have an opportunity to take a class, those classes are available.
Thank you. A follow-up, Director Taylor?
Vic, and this is just more of a comment. So thank you for that. I'm just thinking if for those individuals that may be listening and looking, like we are making exceptions, but you also want to make sure that it's the best fit, not just for the school, but for the individual young person. And are we saying that I guess it is a question, are we saying that the 2.75 is the minimum GPA or that they have had 1.8, but there are some other things that has to be done?
Administration?
Yeah, so that's kind of like, it's a loose requirement. So we do a very holistic review of every single student. And sometimes that review also includes one of our UWM staff members meeting with them or myself or Matthew and having them do like an English assignment to make sure that their writing abilities are going to be able to sustain them while they're there.
All right, thank you. Any other committee members? President Peterson.
Just thank you to the 2 students who testified and for you all who are working in this program. It's very important. A little disappointed, but not surprised that there's not a huge call or interest in teaching. Ever since, well, let's not go into history, but there's been unfortunately, teaching isn't a profession that a lot of people look up to now, and that's something that we all want to change. And so if there's any way that some of us former teachers on the board can come and help inspire, we'd be happy to do that. I think we could. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As a teacher, I'd be happy to come and speak with anyone about the joys of education. Yeah, I just wanted to thank the two students, Abel and Hillary, for sharing their experience and what a great learning opportunity it really has been for you. So thank you for sharing your story. And I agree, I would love to see those education numbers come up. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
All right, is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, thank you for the report. Thank you again, students, for taking time to present to this committee. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 2, action on resolution 2223R-10 by Director Taylor on naming the Learning Exchange Program for Caesar Stinson. The administration recommends that the board adopt the revised resolution and name the MPS International Student Exchange Program the Caesar Stinson International Learning Exchange Program to include the recommended changes as listed in the resolution attached to this item.
Director Taylor, as the sponsor of this resolution, do you wish to make any comments?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to just give a little history, then come back to why I think it was only befitting to name this after, in remembrance of Caesar Stinson. A few years ago, it was then President Ashanti Hamilton at the Common Council, and the mayor was Barrett, who had started out a relationship with Timaguna. And in this relationship, they were Harrison, starting a sister city. Then a President, Ashanti Hamilton, reached out to me and asked me would I chair as the education committee chair for this international sister city. After I don't want to say twisting my arm, but asking me a couple of times, I adhered to doing it. And as we began to work into this group of individuals, which I know we have a couple in the audience tonight, we just saw it being a great benefit of having an international exchange student program with Timaguna, meeting with some of their electeds, their mayor's office, and people on the ground here. There is a Milwaukee Ghanaian community. We started meeting readily. The superintendent has someone from his office there, Dr. Boswell as well, in board governance, and came up with a whole bunch of great ideas of not just having an international student exchange where they come here, but making it more of a community. So there are some different aspects and levels that we have added onto that, and I won't try to belabor that tonight, but making it more of a community where it is diversity and education on this platform for the students in Milwaukee, as well as those individual students who will be coming over here to go to school. As we began to talk a little bit more, we talked about how Caesar opened MPS up to go into different places internationally to recruit educators. And if anyone knows him, he has a love for education, a love for his community, and a love just for reaching out to people, what we say beyond the pathway, to bring us together on what may be common goals, but also what may not be so common, to let us know that even though we may be different, there are similarities, and education was just that for Caesar Stinson. Coming December the 7th, we will officially be a sister city with Tema. The mayor from Tema is coming to Milwaukee to sign it with our new mayor, Mayor Johnson, and the new Common Council President Perez, as well as Alderman Stamper. He did send us an email, so hopefully I'll be able to forward it all to you as they are supporting this. This was a vision for Caesar and more like a birthright for him. And as I started doing this work, I just thought it would only be befitting that we name this program after him for all of the work that he put into MPS. There is no way we can repay him with even this name change, but to let the community and his family and friends know, and people within MPS, that the work that he did will continue to live on, and that we absolutely cherish how he brought us up into another level. I'm not on the committee, so I cannot move to approve this, but I'm hoping someone can. I see Dr. Boswell here as well, too, if he would like to speak, and I know there's a couple speakers in the audience. So thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to bring this to your committee and allowing me to speak on it.
Thank you so much for those comments, Director Taylor. Are there any comments administration would like to make at this time?
Yes, Chair Simpson and members of the committee, this evening the administration brings to you the resolution 2223R-010 by Director Taylor regarding the naming of the Learning Exchange Program. The administration is honored in preparing to bring this recommendation to the board. So we are honored to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. If it's okay with committee members, I'd like to go ahead to any public testimony that we have, Madam Chair, or Madam Secretary.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, we do have one request for public testimony, Mr. Quabanon Nixon. Please come to the podium, state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony. Thank you.
I heard one of the young people, over at the young people, about values. About values. Resolution is affecting it. Want to choked up and miss our guy, house and brother. It's unfortunate that he won't be. There's some words and there's something to remember inside people who said, this book is alive, or this is something that she can look for. About this time, we can say, God has not revealed but revealed. Go back to when they say that I was not going to see. And he's bringing value to this world.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nixon. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Seeing none. Yeah, I mean, I just want to thank Director Taylor for bringing this forward. Oh, and I'm sorry, I missed it. President Peterson.
Just like to echo what people have said about Cesar. I had the opportunity to know him and work with him some, and he was an amazing individual, very talented and international in his perspective. And it's unusual in many parts of our city for people to be so sophisticated and international. And it's great that we're having this program named after him so that we can continue those international connections. We have a lot to learn from people in other countries. So thank you, Director Taylor, for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of this committee? Director Gokul Gandhi? Thank you so much, everybody. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 3, which is action on Resolution 2021-R-2 by former Director Miller regarding advancing the goal of equity in NPS. The administration recommends that the board adopt the resolution and on advancing the goals of equity in Milwaukee Public Schools.
Would the administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, this evening, the administration brings to you Resolution 2021-R-002 by former Director Miller regarding advancing the goals of equity in MPS. The administration is prepared to accept the recommendation of the board after the presentation at this time. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ellis, who will provide us with a presentation here, and then afterwards we'll be ready for any questions that you may have. Thank you. Dr. Ellis.
Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, and Dr. Posley. Patricia Ellis, Director, Department of Equity, Access, and Inclusion. The administration has been engaged in a wide variety of activities and efforts that support Resolution 2021-R-002 by former Director Miller regarding advancing equity in MPS. Throughout the district, we recognize, value, and honor equity work as head and heart work across and between all departments and/or areas within the offices of the superintendent, academics, school administration, human resources, and finance. Working together, we are committed to and actively engaged in ways to foster and advance equity in MPS for students, families, and staff. This evening, I would like to highlight a few efforts that engage the skills, gifts, and talents of offices, departments, and schools to advance student engagement, student voice, and student leadership, in addition to efforts that advance equity for staff and families. Highlights include the Student Leadership Summit for students in grades 6 through 12, which is offered yearly in fall and spring. During the 2020-2021 school year, a total of 191 students participated. In 2021-2022, this number grew to a total of 313 student participants. On October 25th, for the fall 2022 Student Leadership Summit, 180 students representing 19 schools attended. Students actively participated in sessions such as applying to college FAFSA, equity in MPS, mental health support, relationship and community building, LGBTQ+, mental health supports, and restorative practices. It was wonderful to see in the exit survey results by the Wisconsin Education Collaborative that the majority of students who attended are actively involved in a variety of leadership roles through participation in student councils, student discipline committees, school clubs, sports, and community-based organizations that allow them to advance equity. Also, during the month of October, the Black and Latino Male Department held an event at UW-Milwaukee attended by about 250 students from 9 high schools. Students had opportunities to tour the campus, meet with mentors, learn about college life, and consider career options. Over 4,000 students attended the 8th grade high school selection fair held over the course of 4 days in September at North Division High School. The Superintendent Student Advisory Council, SSAC, meets with Dr. Posley during superintendent luncheons. These luncheons allow the SSAC members to share their suggestions and the suggestions of their peers with Dr. Posley, as well as engage in rich and robust dialogue about issues that are important to their school community. Throughout the school year, staff representing all offices and departments have opportunities to participate in a variety of professional development offerings virtually and in person through various efforts ranging from the Principal Leadership Institutes to Teacher Institutes, as well as a range of LMS topics for all district employees. Ambitious instruction, accelerating learning, social emotional learning, college and career readiness, bilingual and multicultural education, PBIS, trauma-informed practices, restorative practices, violence prevention, and the School Improvement Plan professional development opportunities are just a few examples of many offerings that support advancing equity for students and staff. Honoring students' brilliance and joy through equity is also reflected in job fairs for students, refugee and immigrant resource fairs for families, celebrating abilities family forums, STEM fairs, UNCF, Empower Me tours, gender sexuality alliances, GSAs, UNSO World Fairs, Black Lives Matter activities, language festivals, tutoring, mentoring, district-wide spelling bee finals, biennial music festivals, town hall meetings, and much, much more. We acknowledge and embrace equity as a lifelong journey that will be filled with successes, challenges, and many experiences in between. We also find strength and purpose in the journey as we strive to meet the diverse needs of our students, families, and staff in meaningful and relevant ways. I close by thanking our young people throughout the district in pre-K through grade 12, whose insights, wisdom, challenges, and successes teach us daily how to support them, inspire them, care for and about them, listen to them, and challenge them to develop the skills and dispositions necessary to succeed in the 21st century and beyond. I also must thank every adult who is paying it forward daily by fostering within our young people the hard and soft skills, abilities, and dispositions necessary to advance equity for our next generation of educators, innovators and creators, nurses, doctors, engineers, construction workers, plumbers, electricians, performing and visual artists, athletic commissioners, mayor, presidents, and even more. Thank you. We would be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ellis.
You're welcome.
Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard.
I guess the best aspect of this job as being a board director is the opportunity to work with our young leaders that are coming up. And I am actually I would say this administration, and in the past probably 7 or 8 years, we have done a very good job with pushing that forward, empowering our young people and giving them many more opportunities to take on leadership roles. We can do more, and I believe we are in the process of doing that. It's exciting to see. And as just a public notice to everyone that in this district, we are going to work towards equity, and that's going to be directly involved with our students taking the lead and making that actually happen. So I just a comment, but thank you.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Are there any other comments by committee members? Madam Secretary, do we have any members of the public who wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we do have 2 individuals registered for testimony on this item. We will go to our online testimony. Great, thank you. The online. Angela Lucas Foley, please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Angela Lucas Foley, Lucas Foley.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, Superintendent Posley, Chair Simpson, and Board of Directors. I come to you tonight as a member of aspiring anti-racist white educators of Milwaukee, as a proud educator and parent of MPS. I think the hardest part for me to swallow tonight is that this equity resolution was not brought back to committee to be voted on in 2020. Therefore, the annual equity evaluation at each school has not been conducted for 2 school years. For me, it's the details, which allows for lack of monitoring and oversight from the school board on practices that support systems in which we are not adequately serving our Black and brown students and families in this district. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now to in-person testimony. The speaker that we have, Fondae Bridges. Please state your name. Please come to the podium. State your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
My name is Fondae Bridges. The last name is Bridges, Bridges.
Thank you.
Chair Simpson, Superintendent Posley, and all board members. Well, first, I'm a father of 4 kids, all who have gone to MPS, and I have my youngest son, he's 14, he's at Rufus King. My oldest son is in England playing soccer. He graduated from Rufus King a year ago. I stand before you to acknowledge the effort. I would like to testify that I've also had the privilege of being a creative writing consultant in MPS since I was 20. I am 47. I have been in so many different classrooms, in so many different schools, and I know everyone is doing their absolute best. So I'm also here to add more of my service to the work that you desire to do. I have a concept, it's called Healthy Words. It's about positive, beneficial, and nutritious vocabulary. I think in order for our children or any human being to understand worth, they should be able to take an inventory of the attributes they possess. And oftentimes when I go into the schools, I watch as the children may not even know what an adjective is. But when I leave, I can see the joy and the inspiration on their faces. And I can also see the harmony of the educators with the spirit of the language. Words are absolutely free, and many of our educators, they share the most positive words they can find in the moment. I would like to do whatever I can to support those efforts. I wanted to let you all know I exist and that I am ready to serve and aid you in any way. I appreciate the work you're doing, and I actually brought books that I've written to set really the example, to show that simple words like success is in your nature, live it. It can have a profound impact, and our children can create those words. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bridges. Now it's back to committee. So do committee members have any further comments or questions to ask? Administration? I just have one. So first of all, just thank you for the work. I know that this is something the district does take seriously and put at the forefront. And I loved what you said, Dr. Ellis, when you spoke about putting some of this work in the hands of our students. And I agree that they are voices that need to be listened to, and they see so much and have so much wisdom to share with us. So, and I know that we are working hard to make that, their presence and their voice, even heard in a bigger way in our district. So thank you for putting that in your report. I do want to follow up with the question that the speaker asked about the annual equity evaluation, just to see where we're at with that, and any comments you'd like to make in regards to that.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Dr. Posley, I believe that the speaker was speaking to the resolve in which students shall create a tool using the equity guidebook, which the school engagement council at each school in MPS will use to conduct an annual equity evaluation. And she is correct. We have not had an opportunity to develop that tool. However, we have begun conversations with our young people. My session, Equity in MPS, specifically focused in on this part of the resolution, and our young people have some wonderful ideas. They're thinking that the evaluation, instead of looking at like a traditional evaluation, should consist of a powerful question, and then individuals, students who respond to the question have to give specific examples, because their fear is that if it's just yes, no, or fill in the circle, we really won't understand what's happening within our schools. And I just thought that was brilliant, you know, in terms of them being that open and providing that as an example. And so we will continue to reach out to various students. I had an opportunity to meet with some young people on yesterday at a town hall event. They had lots of information to share, so they're going to follow up with me, and we're going to connect and get some of their ideas. And, you know, what they said to me is they can reach students that I may not reach. So I appreciated them being that honest in supporting this effort. And then we will come to the board with a draft document for your consideration and approval. And we'll have the students present.
Yeah, yes, that would be wonderful. No, thank you, Dr. Ellis.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that, that response, and I'm so glad that you're taking time to listen to the students and see what they would like to have rolled out. It's so important. And also just acknowledging that with COVID, you know, it has been hard to have those types of conversations. So thank you for the work on that. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Oh, we have a question. Director Gokul Gandhi.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. Could you tell us, are we on schedule then to have an evaluation for this year?
Administration.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, I'm going to work very hard for that to happen. However, the students really are going to kind of guide and pace this through in some way. If we could have something by the end of the school year that could possibly be done in May, that would be wonderful. If not, at the start of the fall 2023 school year.
Follow-up, Director Gokul Gandhi.
Yeah, could we ask for this to be brought back to committee, even if it's not a full evaluation? I think it would be really helpful to hear what the students had to say at the end of the year. So I would just request that we bring this back to committee.
And Madam Secretary, do we need any timeline on that, or defer to administration? Director Gokul Gandhi.
Well, I would just defer to you all once you've collected, you know, I'm not sure what your timeline is. Maybe we wait till mid-semester next year. Just, you know, it doesn't have to be a full report, but even just an update on what themes you're finding or what the students are saying, and then maybe something else at the end of the year. Or, you know, then we can just wait until you have the full report compiled, but maybe something in March, say, I think would be nice before students head to spring break.
Okay, administration?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, we can make March our target goal.
Thank you, Director Gokul Gandhi. Now, what is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Leonard.
So I hate to say, are we adopting this? I move to adopt this resolution from former Director Miller.
All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ellis, for that update. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Item number 4, which is an update with possible action on the Wisconsin Student Assessment System results from spring 2022. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, in alignment with board action regarding regular reporting of district assessment data, this evening we will share the data released in September of 2022. Dr. Melanie Stewart, Students Performance Director, is here with me this evening, and she's going to provide a presentation. After the presentation, we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Dr. Mel.
Good evening, Director Simpson, members of the committee. I'm Dr. Melanie Stewart. I'm the Director of Research, Assessment, and Data. And this evening, I'm bringing an update with possible action on the Wisconsin Student Assessment System results from spring of 2022. Along with our 5 priorities of success, as we look at these, increasing our academic achievement and accountability, this is part of our state accountability system. As I go to this next slide, the 2 presentations I'm bringing tonight, this one is to keep in the time frame our results and comparisons from the spring of 2021 to the spring of 22. So keeping timelines will be very important. And we are very excited to say that from spring of 21 to spring of 22, so this is our first full year back after the pandemic, that MPS improved scores in all subjects and all tests in that time frame. So we are very excited. Are our results where we want them? No, but this is showing the positive movement that we are beginning to make as we come out of the pandemic. As you can see here, our forward English Language Arts assessment, which is for students in grades 3 through 8, we had an increase of 7.3% from spring of 2021. We also not only increased the percentage of students that were proficient in advanced, we more than doubled the participation rate from about 43% to 94.9%. Moreover, we have 27 schools that have higher scores than they did pre-pandemic. So from 2018-19 to 21-22, we applaud these schools that are across the entire district, all of our regions, for the efforts that they have made during the pandemic and as we are moving out of the pandemic to beat their scores from 18-19. In forward with mathematics, we had an increase of 6.2% from 2021. In this group, we have these schools that outscored their pre-pandemic score. So again, we celebrate these schools as they have continued to move forward in math. Science and social studies had increases in both of these, and as you can see, the percent in science, which is grades 4 and 8, social studies, which is grades 4, 8, and 10, you can see the proficiency scores there. You can also see much smaller gray areas as more and more students participated in these assessments. ACT Aspire, this is the test that is given to our 9th and 10th graders. This is the last year we will have ACT Aspire data. We will be changing assessments and it will be the pre-ACT. The English Language Arts assessment, you can see that we had an increase of 9.8% increase from 2021. If you will recall, in 2021, very few 9th and 10th graders were attending in person, therefore they were not able to assess in 21. We are still working on improving our test participation in these grade levels, but we also know that in this test, to get an ELA result, you must complete both the English, the reading, and the writing, which may all occur on different days. And so that makes it difficult to get the higher participation rate where students may have taken 1 or 2, but not all 3. Math, you can see immediately higher test participation rates because we are looking at a single test. We also see that we had a 6.4% increase in the ACT Aspire math test. Moving to ACT. ACT, as you recall, is for our 11th grade students. Again, we had an increase in the percentage of students that participated. We're up to 75.7%. And we had a 4% increase in ELA results. For math, we had an increase of 2.8%. and in science, an increase of 1.6%. We are excited about these results because they show that we are making movement forward, and we want to continue this trajectory through our implementation of ambitious instruction, accelerated learning. We are also monitoring the progress of our local assessments, which help us see how our students are progressing more regularly through the school year to know that we are hitting more grade level results. We want to celebrate our movement and toward minimizing the unfinished learning. And so at this point, I want to say thank you to all the teachers, all the staff, all the leaders who helped make this happen, and turn it to you for questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mel. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask any questions? Director Leonard?
So seeing the growth is always exciting, to say the least. And I just want to thank all the teachers and everyone on the front lines, because they really, anybody that has done any of that kind of work knows the challenges that come with this. So my hat is off to them. Keep up the great work. I know that's quite challenging, especially under the current conditions. Thank you.
Are there any members of the public who wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All right, I just also want to add my thanks to everybody who worked so hard to make our numbers improve. That's always good news, and it's exciting to see that. So thank you for sharing that information with us, Dr. Mel. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 5, a report with possible action on the results from the National Assessment of Educational Progress. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, this evening we are reporting the results from the National Assessment of Educational Progress. With me this evening is Dr. Melanie Stewart. Dr. Stewart, take it away.
Director Simpson, members of the committee, Melanie Stewart, Director of Research Assessment and Data for the district. Again, we are looking at a presentation of data that this is going to help us measure our academic achievement. And this is a national accountability assessment that we will give a little bit of background information as well as results. So, NAEP is the only assessment in the nation that has been consistent over an extremely long period of time. This measures students across the country in various subject matters and is part of the nation's report card. NAEP subjects are very diverse, as you can see here, but tonight we're talking about mathematics and reading. The NAEP is required to be taken by any school that accepts title dollars, federal dollars. These are all 50 states, the Department of Defense, District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, but 26 urban districts, including Milwaukee Public Schools, as trial urban district assessments. These are the districts that, including Milwaukee, and this provides us an opportunity to benchmark with other like districts across the country. This is a representative sample of the number of students that participated in NAEP testing in the winter of 2022. As I mentioned in my last presentation, this is going to be showing us from pre-pandemic to winter of 2022. Milwaukee Public Schools had 5,600 students that were tested approximately, and this represents results in 77 of our district schools. As we have just looked at our forward data, this slide and the next slide shows our NAEP results of the percentage of students that are proficient and above. Obviously, they are not as high as we want them, and our continued efforts are going to make these grow higher and higher. But what I want to point out is the consistency in our ability to measure our progress both on our local universal screener, the state test, and the national test. In reading, you can see we have slightly higher performance, but again, you're seeing a lot of consistency in results. So we're going to begin with fourth grade mathematics. In this slide, you can see that all of the districts are labeled in green except Milwaukee, and Milwaukee Public Schools is listed in blue. The other two dark columns, LC stands for large city, and NP is national public. And these are our other TUDA districts that participated so that we can compare our scores to theirs. One of the things that we want to celebrate is while we did not have as high of achievement as we wanted, remember this is pre-pandemic to 2022, we had less change from pre-pandemic to the winter of 22 than multiple other TUDA districts. You can see how we fared in performance by scale score compared to the other districts. We're going to take a minute to look at trend data. This is where we are going to look at the significance of an asterisk. In NAEP, they calculate the statistically significant difference between a jurisdiction's score in 2022 and all of the other years that were tested. So if you see an asterisk, that means we changed significantly from that year. If you do not, it means there may have been change up or down, but it was not significant. So here are our trend scores. And as you may notice, there's a blank right in the middle. During that year, we were not a TUDA in 2015. That was when we were transitioning to Smarter Balance in the park assessments, and we had hoped as a district to be able to use just the Smarter Balance, which would have been our state test, to compare to other districts. Unfortunately, the state left the Smarter Balance consortium right before the test occurred, and we were not able to see that as a possibility, and the Wisconsin Forward test was developed. Fortunately, we were able to rejoin as a TUDA so we can continue benchmarking. As you can see from the data here, we are the red, blue is large city, gold is national public, and green is state. There was statistically significant difference from 22 to 19 in all but the state. The state did not have statistically significant change. One of the things that while we still want our increased performance with both our white and our black children, we are looking at the gap. And while the state had the largest white-black gap, Milwaukee does not. There are 4 TUDA districts that have larger white-black gaps than we do. 8th grade math. Again, we're going in the same order. We are Milwaukee in blue. You can see how we fared with our TUDAs compared to with the percentage of at or above proficient. We can see that even more districts to the left of us had greater change or drops in scale scores than we did in grade 5 math. So while we may not like where we achieved, we are definitely did not lose as much ground during the pandemic. This is where we fare on scale score compared to our benchmarks. This is our trend data that we are looking, and in 8th grade math, there was a statistically significant drop. Our black-white gap in grade 8 math, there were 11 TUDAs that had larger gaps than what we did. Switching to reading. In reading, now we are the green, and we are looking at our comparison at 4th grade reading in proficiency. You can see here, we did not have statistically significant change from 2019 to 22. So while we had some declines or some had growth, those are the lighter and us in green. It is the districts that are in the navy blue that had statistically significant change. So while we had some movement, it was not statistically significant. You can see how we compared across our TUDAs on scale score. And you can see there is no asterisk on our 2019 showing no statistically significant change. Our white-black gap in reading, we had 2 TUDAs that have larger gaps, and we still have a large gap that we want to decline. 8th grade reading results. Again, you can see we're moving performance-wise over to the right some, which is good. We are seeing also that we had far more districts that had greater change from 19 to 22 than we did. And again, we were not statistically different from 2019. Here's our performance with the other TUDAs, and here is our change. So you can see from 2019 to 22, there was only a very small difference, and it was not statistically significant. Looking at our black-white gap, there are 5 TUDAs that have larger gaps than we do. At this point, I want to thank you and end our presentation and open it to questions. Prior to that, I'd like to share a few of our next steps. We know that as we are looking at this data, we have growth to do. We know that we look to ambitious instruction, accelerating learning, to ensure that teachers have the strategies to increase student engagement, provide instruction at grade level, and monitor progress through formative practices. We also want to increase our focus on the results of leaders and teachers implementing these strategies. We want to increase our strategic coaching for our teachers to make certain that they are able to implement ambitious instruction. The district has initiatives to increase student attendance, which is critical, which means every student coming to school every day. We need our children here. We are also engaged in continuous improvement, both at the district and school level. We have invested in programs that are going to increase student access to learning resources, various technology platforms to support parents in the learning process, tutoring, and partnerships in the community. We have ESSER funds that we are going to be able to do to target our CSI, our Comprehensive Support and Improvement schools, in math and in looking at, our ESSER funds for targeted professional development, tutoring, and awarding mini equity grants. I got ahead of myself. We have a $9.4 million grant to focus on our CSI schools and our ATSI, additional targeted support and improvement, with culturally responsive libraries and high-quality instructional mathematics materials. We've just recently purchased instructional materials this year for reading and language arts. We are discussing mandatory high-intensity tutoring to be implemented in our central region, and we are also discussing mandatory teacher training so that we can help teachers master the key skills necessary in the central region. Curriculum guides have been developed to help support all these efforts. We have invested significantly in learning for teachers, leaders, and support staff during the pandemic, and we continue to do that during the week, work days, Saturdays, and we are finding that the sessions are all well attended. We are working to continuously improve our outcomes for all students. Our school improvement planning includes all demographic groups, and we are working hard to ensure that all students, including those with disabilities, have support structures in place to help them not only through the pandemic, but continuing day to day today, so that we can see that all students have what they need. We are also looking to review school schedules because we know that we need to increase the collaborative and collegial time during the day without sacrificing instructional time. And at this time, we will be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Mel, for that presentation. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions at this time? Director Leonard.
so you look at the previous presentation on growth, and it's exciting to see. And then we look at this, and I can't deny it. I want to see those scores by far exceed what we're looking at. I do have a question though. I've been looking at other data, and almost no one exceeds the 40% mark when it comes to NAEP. I'm curious, just your thoughts on that. I mean, I'm just sort of, I find that amazing that nobody is exceeding 40% on the NAEP.
Dr. Mel.
Director Seamson, Director Leonard, members of the committee. The NAEP has been in existence for many, many years, and the TUDAs have been in existence since, I believe, about 2003. This is a very rigorous test, and so part of that is that it's our barometer to get to the high levels of rigor. That's why the test is there. It is our measure. And that's why we are a TUDA, is that we can learn from our fellow TUDA districts and the ones that are making growth. As we have shared before, some of our TUDA partners are county districts, but others are more like us that are urban city districts. But as we just returned from the Council of the Great City Schools, those are our benchmarks that we are trying to learn from and grow from. And as we all know, the challenges we had during the pandemic, they did also. And so how do we rally and how do we grow out of that?
Thank you. Director Leonard, any follow-up?
Just a one mention is that I know that they're not, when we look at those scores, we also have to remember that it is not year by year. We're looking at different samples every time. So fourth grade and eighth grade next year is not going to be fourth and eighth grade this year, so we understand that. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Madam Secretary, do any members of the public wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Is there any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, thank you again for the report. Dr. Mel, always love these. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 6, which is a report with possible action regarding the bilingual education and the District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Committee, DMAC. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, we are pleased to share a quarterly report on our bilingual education and the district's multicultural, multilingual advisory council. This evening, I would like to thank the team, Mr. Eduardo Gavan, Lorena Gainey, and Dr. Tatiana Joseph for leading this work. Mr. Gavan will start the presentation, and after which we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Mr. Gavan.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Seamson, members of the committee. I am Eduardo Galvan, Regional Superintendent for the Southwest Region. With me today will be Lorena Gainey and Dr. Tatiana Joseph, and we will be presenting an update, our first quarterly update regarding the bilingual department and DMAC, District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Committee. Again, the work done by the Department of the Bilingual Multicultural Education and the District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Committee supports all 5 of the district's priorities for success, with particular focus on the first 3 priorities: increasing academic achievement and accountability, improve district and school culture, and developing our staff. This slide does show our demographic data as of about a week and a half ago, and those numbers do change a little bit as we move along and students come back or go elsewhere. The data represents those students, as we see there, 13,305 students in what we call our bilingual schools, our 21 bilingual schools. 38.3% classify as English language learners,
22.8% of special education, and 81% economically disadvantaged. Again, just to clarify, those 13,305 students in a bilingual school doesn't necessarily mean they are in a bilingual program or in a language program, because again, in many of our schools, we have two tracks, so to speak. So we have our bilingual program, and then we also have our monolingual program. Okay. The mission of the Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education is to provide equitable access to quality multilingual and multicultural programming in the Milwaukee Public Schools. And the vision is for MPS students to graduate with strong cultural and linguistic identities, leveraging these assets to navigate college, career, and life as global citizens in an inclusive society. Oops. All right, went one too far there. So we'll be addressing the bullet points here throughout our program, or excuse me, presentation today. I wanted to spend a little bit of time before I turn it over to Lorena to talk about parent engagement and marketing. Again, we've worked quite diligently to do a better job of communicating what bilingual programming means throughout our district. On that note, we've had many of our schools attended Fiesta Mexicana, Puerto Rican Fest, and other events over the summer. Obviously, in order to recruit students, but also to inform the community at large what it means to be in a bilingual school and the benefits of it and how that can impact your life in a positive way moving forward. And again, this is across the district. This isn't just for one set of students or one group of students, but we want to get out there and make sure our families understand what the benefits are and what the differences are amongst our programs. So again, we had a lot of engagement. Our schools have also run ads in community newspapers and local Spanish radio ads throughout the year, and those are done periodically. Our bilingual department staff worked by bilingual schools to hold the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration at South Division on October 1st. The media response from that was very, very positive, and I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. It was a great, great event. Our communications department has also worked to set up interviews at Hayes Bilingual and Longfellow School with local media. And those interviews were very specific and involved parents, involved students, involved teachers, and the administrators at those buildings to, again, provide some clarity as to what bilingual programming is, and hearing the benefits from the students during those was incredibly awesome is the word I want to use, and to hear the parents and to see some of how that has benefited them was really, really great. And again, we're going to continue to do that. We've also had the bilingual program present at a parent meeting at Hayes, again, with that direct kind of intent to let our parents know what the bilingual program is, know how to support students in that program, and in an effort, again, to have them share that with families and friends in their own communities. And we'll continue to do that as we move forward at different schools. The bilingual department will also be presenting at upcoming parent coordinator meetings, again, so that this is a district-wide effort to increase our knowledge about what the programs are and the benefits of them. In addition, the Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education Lao Compliance Center has enrolled families of potential language learners. And the top 5 countries that represented those enrollments were Malaysia, Mexico, Nicaragua, Tanzania, and Honduras. And the top 5 languages were Spanish, Rohingya, Swahili, Burmese, and Somali. So again, it's important to recognize that we have such a diverse community, and it keeps changing as we move along. And the department and DMAC, we work together to make sure that we're matching those changes and putting our resources there. At this time, I'll turn it over to Lorena, and she'll continue the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Galvan. Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee. My name is Lorena Yeni, Director of Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education. The following updates will be related to the bilingual English as a Second Language, ESL, world language, and emerging programs, and the seal of biliteracy recognition. The Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education is excited to continuously share updates on the Biliteracy Year at a Glance, which strategically maps out literacy, science, and social studies units in Spanish and English, grades K5 through 8, in accordance with the MPS Content and Language Allocation Plan. The Content and Language Allocation Plan delineates the language that each content area is primarily taught in for grades K-12, and recently, the bilingual team worked with the teacher teams in the development of Week at a Glance documents for trimester 1 and science and bilingual unit frameworks, which are the BOOFs, the acronym, which are also linked to the Biliteracy Year at a Glance in one place for teachers' ease of use, and the Biliteracy Unit BOOFs are integrated unit plans. The Week at a Glance is a companion document that provides a more detailed lesson-level planning. This Week at a Glance document exists for science BOOFs for trimester 1 and 3, grades K5 through 5th. The team continues to update this document. Next up is the completion of an inventory of reading skills and standards based on the newly adapted reading materials, which will serve to inform updates to biliteracy units, and in turn, units will be more structured and guided. The bilingual team has also completed a foundational skills scope and sequence specific to bilingual learners. This document will serve to guide teachers in the teaching of Spanish and English foundational skills. It will help teachers weave English foundational skills into the instruction in a developmentally appropriate order. We are looking forward to providing professional development for teachers in this area. We have also worked extensively with the Montessori curriculum specialist and Riley teacher to develop and model instructional plans and supports as appropriate for Riley dual language Montessori throughout the school year. Finally, on October 1st and 8th, the bilingual team held Teaching for Biliteracy Institute. 28 teachers attended. The first session focused on hearing from the authors, Karen Beeman and Cheryl Uro, via a series of webinars, and the second session involved participants in deepening their learning around teaching for biliteracy using oracy strategies that we encourage them to use with the students to promote and support content, language, and literacy development. These strategies included total physical response, parallel lines, and word sorts. Regarding the English as a second language, the Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education is continuing to implement the ELD action plan. The focus efforts are in professional development, coaching, and curriculum development. English language development, ELD, standards are based on how students communicate language for learning. For example, students at lower proficiency levels will go from comprehending and using words to writing compound sentences at grade level. Last year, professional development was provided to 14 schools. This year, we are looking forward to increasing the number of new schools that have received professional development to 19 schools. ELD integration will take place in literacy by adding language expectations in the biliteracy unit framework, grade 6-8, and in the social studies curriculum guide. Professional development is provided to ESL teachers, classroom teachers, school support teachers, and other staff members. The main topics for professional development includes the English learning identification process, instruction, and reclassification. The first topic, identification, assists staff with understanding and carrying out the process, which includes the home language survey, language screener, and program permission forms. The second topic is instructional strategies, which is designed to help teachers make choices in their planning and preparation to students on a range of English proficiency. And the third topic is using multiple forms of data to know when students are reaching level 5 English proficiency and apply additional strategies to ensure that students become former English learners. We reinforce all professional development topics through follow-up coaching and drop-in sessions. Last year, we had 212 sessions. Since the beginning of this school year, we have had 158 sessions. Yearly, the district receives refugee grants that are to support the academic growth and social integration of new arrivals to the United States. During the summer, we provided services to refugee youth in grades kindergarten through 8th. The focus was on early literacy skills for 64 students. The teachers used a variety of texts to help students with reading. We also provided services to refugee youth in grades 9 through 12. The focus was on settling into a new place for 23 students. The students had the opportunity to go to the zoo, Discovery World, and Brewers game for the first time. Thereafter, the teachers guided students with expressing their experience verbally, and then the students worked in pairs to write about their experience. We are currently determining eligibility of new arrivals and working with teachers and community members to plan services for the summer 2023. Our world language classroom teachers continue to support students learning through the use of Mango languages, proximity learning, content library, and Lingua Folio to enhance language learning. Immersion schools, in addition to the core content in the target language, they also have access to all world language resources to supplement their language acquisition instruction. The new addition to these teacher resources has been the Speakable app, which will help teachers to create custom speaking assignments with automated pronunciation feedback and grading. Speakable, like Mango, also offers 70+ languages. Any Milwaukee Public School student who is fluent in two or more languages has the opportunity to show proficiency in both English and the home language to graduate with the seal of biliteracy recognition. In 2019-2020 was our district implementation year for the seal of biliteracy. Our school-based coordinators and advisors went over and beyond to help 18 students graduate with this honor in French, German, and Spanish at that time. Since then, our district has been growing the program by adding 13 more languages. Milwaukee Public School has graduated students with the seal of biliteracy with 10 of these added languages, which are American Sign Language, Burmese, Chin, Karen, Kureni, Mai, Malay, Somali, Swahili, and Urdu. Milwaukee Public School is the first and only district of 15 districts that currently is working the seal in Wisconsin that has graduated students in these 10 languages. Last year, our district received approval by DPI to add 20 more languages to reflect the home languages spoken by our students' population. And with these languages approved, our growth goal for this school year, 2022-2023, is to graduate 100 students with the seal of biliteracy recognition. This concludes my presentation, and now Dr. Tatiana Joseph will continue to present an update related to the District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Council.
Hello, and thank you for having me. So nice to see you all. DMAC has been very refreshing. 2 meetings we've had so far, and thank you. And, you know, as I hear my colleagues, it's very refreshing to hear that's what's happening in DMAC. It's an extension of the work that they are doing in the office. And so the flair of the last 2 meetings and this semester is the benefits and perks of bilingualism. And so it's really informing parents, what do you get from enrolling and staying in bilingual programming? Our first meeting was very excitingly introduced the program portfolio that MPS holds around bilingualism, which then turned into a great conversation around benefits, right, like the seal of biliteracy and potentially studying abroad for free in Germany for students who have studied German and can pass testing that is conducted by the German government. Also from that, it was shared that the district, and it was mentioned before in the presentation, that they've tailored presentations for individual schools to ensure that
parents understand programming and can therefore speak about it and really support initiatives and programming. And as such, many of the parents have shared that in their own schools and have become interested in hosting such meetings. We also, at the last meeting, hosted a parent training workshop with Mango. If you haven't had a chance to play with it, it is a fantastic app. My family is hooked on it. Personally, we go between Italian, German, French, and Spanish, so it's kind of an interesting mixture of languages. But at that meeting, we had a Mango representative who showed parents how to log on, how to use it, how to, really use the app to support children and family learning of languages. And for people who are listening, this is a self-paced language platform that is free for MPS families, staff, and students. And each student has access to 5 accounts, so you can share the love with your family and friends. Coming up, we have just as much energy to share. We have a parent coordinator meeting that we will be attending to just get more information about DMAC to families and other schools. And then a couple of other topics that are coming up for families who want to join us. We meet the third Wednesday of the month at 5 p.m. virtually. And we will be talking about a little bit more in depth around the perks and benefits of bilingualism, such as college credits, seal of biliteracy, and free trips to Germany to go study at a university in Germany. And those are just some of the things that we'll be talking about. Thank you.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, at this time, we'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard.
Thank you. So I do have a few questions. One is, what summer services will be offering to our refugees? Out of curiosity.
Ms. Gainey?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, as of right now, we're planning all of the, we just receiving the refugee grant, so we're planning, what the 2023 summer. But it usually has to do, with, depending on the ages, so we use them for, some of the monies is, to advance reading, and also, give them the experiences that they have never had, at the older grades, so they have the opportunity, to know how to get around and taking the bus and so on. So that's some of the, we have to abide what the grant it is for. So.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Director Leonard?
No, not with that. I guess really, oh, you know what? I did have to ask regarding the DMAC. I see 2 dates, 11/15 and 11/16. Is that 2 meetings in a row, day after day, or am I misinterpreting that?
Dr. Joseph?
Yes, 11/16 is just for information. That's the day I'll be presenting at the parent coordinator meeting, and then 11/16 is the monthly DMAC meeting.
Oh, all right. Thank you. All right. And then just a comment, promotion of becoming bilingual. I was reading over the notes and everything before the meeting, and I had to really say, if I have any regret in my life at all, is that I did not follow through on becoming truly bilingual. I studied Spanish for 2.5 years, and I started getting there, but just taking courses was not enough. So I really, I just encourage anyone that wants to do this, really put yourself into it. It'd be well worth the advantages of becoming truly bilingual. I just think that, I think I've really missed something in that process. So yes, I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Do any other members wish to ask questions? President Peterson.
I want to thank you for the thorough report and the great work that's being done. I just like to repeat the fact that Milwaukee has one of the finest bilingual programs in the country, and we should be very proud of that, and I know we are. And I know that we're trying to convince other members of the community that it's really worth, one, preserving their home language if they come, and secondly, for other people to learn a second language or third language. I know this, my grandson is trying to find a good bilingual school in New York City, and I'll tell you that we beat him by what I can see in terms of our quality. And so I just encourage people to follow what Dr. Leonard said and become bilingual, as, study a second language. The earlier the better. It's longer you do it early, you'll be able to speak it longer than if you started late. The last thing I'll just say is we were at the Council of Great City Schools conference, and I noticed that in couple cities they have bilingual Hmong programs going, and I just wonder if we've ever considered that or what it would take. I'm just curious, and it seems like a possibility. I don't know.
Administration.
Well, excuse me, Director Simpson, members of the committee, Eduardo Galvan. As I mentioned earlier, Ms. Guinea and her department, when we look at the data, when we look at the numbers, when we see where we have potential for growth, that's where we want to start exploring those ideas. I think, part of the challenge would be obviously educators that have that language, right? But again, if we see the need, we'll do everything that we can to focus our resources and our energy there. Obviously, Mongo languages and some of the other programs that Ms. Guinea has described are available, but they don't replace that actual teacher. But that's certainly something that, as we see the shifts between who's coming, who's here, and even internally where they move to in terms of parts of the city, those are discussions that we've also had about trying to, we're a district of choice, but we want to make sure our parents even more so understand that, if you come with this language, if we could get them to understand maybe the benefits of having them attend one school, so that we can focus our energies there. So those are things that we have had in discussion, and we'll continue to explore that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just like to say, I love this. I'd like to say, thank Dr. Joseph for presenting it as the MPS language portfolio. I think that's a great description for the variety of language programs we offer our students, and it is an amazing resource for our families and our community, and it is such a powerful benefit for our kids who participate in all of these varieties of language programs. And just exactly what my colleague said, come to MPS as director, or the former director, blanking. Thank you, Bias. Used to say, come to MPS, learn a second language, third languages as well, because I know some of our students do move on to a third language, especially those who come up with 2 languages when they're little. They get to high school and they're ready for a third one. So I just want to thank all of you for the hard work you're doing. Dr. Joseph, just for your advocacy and getting our families and parents involved. We truly appreciate the work that you're doing. So just thank you, everybody. And with that, Madam Secretary, do any members of the public wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody. And Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 7, which is a report with possible action regarding the implementation of the personal finance course. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, this evening we're reporting on the progress of our financial literacy course. With me this evening is Eric Radomski, Manager of Career and Technical Education, to present this item, and after which we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Eric.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Eric Radomski, Manager of Career and Technical Education. I'm here to share the personal finance report. Of our 5 district priorities, our work of implementing the personal finance course supports 2 priorities: development of staff and increasing academic achievement and accountability. The report tonight will cover the period from our last report in June until now, with number 1, a summary of our course implementation in high schools across the district. Number 2, a review of the teacher professional development provided by Next Gen Personal Finance, our financial literacy teacher mentor Marty Diaz, and our community partners. 3, an update on events we've held and engagement strategies we've implemented to support personal financial literacy for students. And I'll end the report by providing some immediate next steps in our course implementation plan. This table shows a timeline of the personal finance course implementation. The great news is that we are on track with the implementation plan that was first presented to this committee back in September of 2021. The first column represents the 3 schools who began the implementation in fall of 21. They were our first cohort, and these 3 schools will need to ensure that all of their students take the course starting with the graduating class of 2026. The 15 schools who began offering the courses in spring 22 and this fall make up cohorts 2 and 3. These schools will need to ensure that all of their students take the course starting with the graduating class of 2027. And the remaining 7 schools in cohort 4, who will begin offering the course in spring, will need to ensure that all of their students take the course starting with the graduating class of 2028. To summarize, we have started offering the course at 18 high schools, with 7 schools scheduled to offer the course next semester. We currently have 44 sections with 978 students. That compares to last spring, where we had 24 sections and 446 students. That's an 83% increase in the number of sections offered and more than doubling the number of students enrolled in the course over last spring. Our professional development update. With the support of our partners, we provided over 1,000 hours of professional development this summer, beginning with the Forward Learning Institute of Financial and Economic Literacy. This June, Institute provided our staff members with the opportunity to learn from and obtain resources from many of our advisory board members and other community partners, including a fairly long list: Junior Achievement, who is our host for the day, Next Gen Personal Finance, the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions, R.W. Baird, Educators Credit Union, Concordia University, Secure Futures, BMO, EdVest, and UW Credit Union. They all participated in that professional development. During the Summer Institute in August, we offered a financial literacy professional development that was attended by approximately 100 MPS staff members, including high school personal finance teachers, middle school teachers, school support teachers, and paraprofessionals. Next Gen Personal Finance is the leading curriculum and professional development provider in personal finance and has provided many opportunities for our teachers to complete virtual sessions to prepare them to teach the course. They offer 3 different types of professional development. There are 49 on-demand modules covering all of the course topics for teachers to take on their own time. There are 12 live certification courses specializing in specific topics in personal finance with 10 hours of professional development, followed by a 1-hour exam to become certified. And finally, there are daily 1-hour live PD options with topics changing weekly. The average teacher this year, for this year's courses, has 29 hours of professional development versus an average of 17 hours last year, an increase of over 70%. 10 of our teachers took well over 30 hours of PD this summer, and 6 schools have 2 or more teachers who are trained to teach the course. Every high school offering this course has at least 1 teacher at the school trained to teach the course. And congratulations to the 8 Milwaukee Public School personal finance teachers that applied for and received scholarships to attend the National Jumpstart Conference, which actually starts tomorrow in Atlanta. We've provided several events and implemented some strategies geared toward increasing interest and engagement in the personal finance course. In September, we had 350 students attend Reality Check Day, a simulated budgeting event put on by Educators Credit Union and hosted at UW Milwaukee. We began the stock market game in October and have 104 teams of up to 6 students participating from 11 of our schools. That's more than 1/3 of the state's 298 teams. One of the Hamilton High School teams currently sits in 5th place in the state, and Obama, Bayview, and Audubon also have teams in the top 60, which is the top 20%. This week, our personal finance schools have gone or are heading to junior achievement to participate in Finance Park Advanced, which is a more involved, deeper version of the Finance Park experience that our 8th graders get when they attend. Next month, we will kick off our first student-led newsletter with students writing stories and articles about financial literacy topics for other students to read about. We also plan to add student representation to our advisory council at our meeting in December to give us feedback on how we might improve the course and the activities we provide. Based on strong student interest and teacher feedback, we are refining the sequence of courses for semester 2 by moving the racial discrimination unit to the beginning of the course. Racial discrimination in finance will also be embedded into other topics throughout the course where applicable, such as discrimination in housing, banking, and college admissions. This spring, we'll hold parent workshops in schools, and we'll bring back FinLit Fridays during Financial Literacy Month in April, which was very successful last spring. Each Friday, students, staff, parents are invited to participate and learn about specific finance topics of high interest in a fun way. Last year, 138 individuals signed into the 3 events we held, including 22 parents. However, attendance was much higher, with several teachers in each session bringing full classrooms of students. And what's next? Our next steps include expanding and improving our partnerships to ensure that students have access to a comprehensive personal finance education that includes many hands-on opportunities to learn both inside and outside the classroom. We'll continue to offer many professional development opportunities for teachers and other interested staff. We'll work with parent coordinators and school staff to provide opportunities for families to participate in financial literacy workshops. And we'll work with schools and the ACP coordinator to determine how we can support the expansion of financial literacy to middle school students. And finally, we'll begin planning the events for Financial Literacy Month in April. We want to take the opportunity to recognize and thank our amazing partners that support the work we are doing in our district around financial literacy. And there you see the logos of those partners. We want to thank them for prioritizing financial education and working with Milwaukee Public Schools. And that concludes the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Radomski. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask any questions? President Peterson.
Just a couple of comments. Thank you for your work. I had the pleasure of going to the September Educators Credit Union Reality Check. That was quite an event. I recommend it to anybody who wants to have their reality checked. It was, I don't know, hundreds of high school students coming to UWM using an app that has 8 or 9 different features that affect a person and a family financially. And they plan a budget, they find out that they have a parking ticket, they have all sorts of different things. The biggest thing that I heard was, wow, it's expensive to have kids and childcare. And that's true. So thank you for that. I also want to thank you for incorporating, anti-racist analyses within the financial course. That's obviously an important thing, and I'm proud that we're doing that. So thanks again.
Thank you, President Peterson. Any other comments or questions by the board? All right, seeing none. Madam Secretary, do any members of the public wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, there's no request for public testimony on this item.
All right, well, thank you very much for that report and sharing that great information with us. It's a wonderful opportunity for our students. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 7, a report with possible action regarding the It's a report with possible action on the regional showcase, the Central Region. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, it gives me great pleasure this evening to introduce our regional showcase. I have with me Dr. Carletta Nolan, Regional Superintendent for the Central Region, and Principal Hare for Milwaukee French Immersion to present. And after we have completed the presentation, we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Dr. Nolan.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Carletta Nolan, and I find it an honor and a privilege to serve as the Regional Superintendent for the Central Region. I am honored to bring to you the Regional Showcase. We of the Central Region share the vision that all students will experience learning in a safe, supportive, and well-maintained environment, where in every classroom, students are provided with equitable, rigorous, high-quality opportunities that are child-centered, research-proven, and based on standards. We believe that our goals are that all students will be proficient readers by the end of 3rd grade, because we know that research tells us that children who can't read proficiently by the end of 3rd grade are more likely to experience poor health, have discipline problems, become teen parents, and drop out of high school. As adults, they're more likely to spend time in prison, struggle with unemployment, and face shorter life expectancies. To us, this is a matter of life and death. Another goal of ours is to have an attendance rate of 95% or better, and to be the most sought-after school region for both enrollment and employment. Our vision and goals are aligned to the 5 priorities for success: increased academic achievement and accountability, improve district and school culture, develop our staff, ensure fiscal responsibility and transparency, and strengthen communications and collaboration. Our portfolio of schools, both the 22 schools within our region, offer wide variety of options for our families. These options include early childhood, language immersion, Montessori, primary years IB candidate, community schools, and several traditional K-5 and K-8 schools. Within these 22 schools, we have 6,662 scholars that we serve each day. Of this 6,662 students, 6.6% are English language learners, 19.2% students with disabilities, and 92.2% are economically disadvantaged. This slide also shows the racial makeup of the region. We have 0.3% American Indian, 6.7% Asian, 79.5% African American, 6.2% Hispanic, and 0.1% Hawaiian Pacific Islander, 1.1% white, and 3.7% with 2 or more races. This slide represents the designation of each school on the 2020-2021 state report card. The state report card for the 2021-22 school year is embargoed and will be released later this month. As you can see, the majority of the schools in the Central Region meet expectations. 5 of them meet few expectations, 3 fail to meet, and Marvin Pratt significantly exceeds expectations. While not all of our schools are meeting expectations, we remain proud of each of them and are diligently working to ensure that the vision we have for the Central Region is realized. At this time,
I would like to shine the spotlight on one of the schools in the region that is well on its way to realizing the goals set for the region. This school is Milwaukee French Immersion School. This school is led by Principal Madame Jenna Hare. Madam Hare, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nolan. Thank you, Dr. Nolan, Chair Director Simpson, and members of the committee. So I am Jenna Hare, and at Milwaukee French Immersion School, we have been doing local learning and global thinking since 1978. We're coming up on our 45th anniversary this year. And our mission is committed to making language immersion education accessible to all students. And we want to ensure that each student reaches his or her full potential by embracing the unique backgrounds and cultural identities of our students and our staff, exposing our students to the Francophone world through rich language and cultural experiences, and providing a rich academic curriculum with supports for student needs that builds upon their strengths. We expanded our curriculum in the recent past to include units and lessons that impart the historical and current impact of oppression and the realities of racial inequities that exist in our society. And we are committed to closing the racial achievement and opportunity gaps among students. Our school pledge that we say every day is that we are proud to speak French and to get to know the Francophone world. We're respectful, responsible, and safe. We're different, unique, and stronger together. Of course, the kids do say that in French every day. The demographics of our school, we have 449 students, K4 to grade 5. 4.5% are English language learners, and 7.8% are students with disabilities. 63.7% of our students are economically disadvantaged. 61% of our students are Black African American, and 18% are white. They make the two largest demographic groups, and 10.2% are Hispanic. For our staff demographics, almost 50% of our classroom teachers are native speakers, and we do have 5 Francophone countries represented by staff, along with our 4 teachers that are MFIS alums. At MFIS, we assess in the language of instruction. So for K-5 and first grade, we use EDIPEL, not STAR. And EDIPEL is the English Dibbles assessment, which measures foundational reading skills. For our fall kindergarten scores, in recognizing or identifying the first sound, we had 56% of our students were proficient, and that is slightly higher than last year. So we're showing growth in that area. For our first grade students in fall 2022, we had 28% of students that were proficient in naming letters. However, we had 52% of our students that were proficient in segmenting words into phonemes. That is also higher than our scores from last year. Our STAR reading scores, as we see, we made incredible growth over the course of last year, with an increase of 32% of our students were proficient, a steady increase over the course of the year for our 2nd through 5th graders in our STAR English reading. And we are starting off this year at a higher percent proficient this fall than last fall. Our school-wide reading goals are aligned to make sure that we are increasing our reading instruction, and we have relaunched our reading buddies so that students practice reading with peers and to promote a culture of reading in our school. For our STAR Math assessment, which our math is instructed in French. So the STAR Math assessment is in English, however, the language of instruction for math is French. And this fall, we're 3.4% higher than last fall. And our focus on instructional strategies, the how of teaching, is showing in our student gains over the course of the last year. Language immersion at French Immersion School. We are internationally recognized by the French government. A few years ago, we received the Label France, which is the French government recognizes schools with high percent of proficiency in French language acquisition across the world. We have connected with the French consulate and other French immersion schools in the Midwest. We have French language is the language of instruction across all subject areas through integrated units of study. K4 and first grade students receive 90% of their instruction in French, and English literacy instruction begins in 2nd grade. Our music and art classes are also taught in French, which helps build vocabulary and enhances the immersion experience that our students have each and every day. Our points of pride in our program. We have partnered with AK Jam AK, which offers traditional African dances taught in French by a Senegalese dance instructor. So our students have an amazing opportunity to experience traditional African dances once a week with Monsieur Pate. The Milwaukee French Immersion Foundation has partnered with us as well, and we have our French-speaking interns back for the first time since the 2019-2020 school year. We also take the DELF exam. The DELF exam is a global exam through the French government that assesses for French proficiency. Our second and fourth graders have the opportunity to demonstrate their French proficiency on that exam. We also do the Grand Concours Oral French speaking test. It is the oral speaking test that is coming back after COVID, where our students get to showcase their French oral proficiency through speaking contests across the region. We also have partnered with the BLMA, the Black and Latino Male Achievement Office, to support achievement of our boys of color in our school, and we have aligned with MSL and Washington High School with their mentors there as well. Last year, we became a United Nations School of International Learning, where our students learn about how the United Nations works and collaboration, and our students will also continue that learning when they move on to Milwaukee School of Languages. We are also a very proud PBIS school, and that has really supported our behavior and academics as we talk about interventions and support for all of our students. Our focus for this year and beyond is to increase our knowledge around culturally responsive classrooms. We are focusing on reading, and so really incorporating a culture of reading across the board in our school. Our focus with coaching and with administrative support is in our early childhood literacy programs, where we are in those classes each and every day to provide feedback and coaching to ensure all of our students have the foundation of literacy that they need to be successful and to match that regional goal of being proficient by third grade. We are resetting our expectations for language acquisition and increasing the amount of French across our building each and every day, and really strengthening and growing our family connections and engagement to provide as many family opportunities to come into our building and to celebrate our program. Thank you very much, and back to Dr. Nolan.
Thank you, Madam Hare. We are extremely proud to have Milwaukee French Immersion School, which is an international recognized school, and we just found out a finalist for the Schoolyard Redevelopment Grant. So congratulations to you all. So please know that we in the Central Region stand with open arms, ready to receive new students and new employees. So at this time, I will welcome any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nolan and Principal Hare. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard.
Congratulations. I love the mix of your demographics at your school, and I'm just curious. And I don't even know why I have to ask the question, but how receptive are the students to the French language? I'm just curious because I see this it's such a nice mix, and I'm sort of surprised by that, I guess.
Principal Hare.
So Director Seamson, members of the board, our students are really open to it, and they understand from day one we start the French instruction. And so they view it as a point of pride. Part of our school pledge is we're really proud to speak French and to learn about the Francophone world. And so it is a key aspect in everything that we do is connected to that French language. And so starting from day one in K4 or K5, first grade, their first day in, there's French. And so for a lot of our students, that's what school is, right? And that they're speaking French and they practice it. And so it really is an amazing opportunity that our second and fourth graders have to demonstrate that French proficiency, and they all receive certificates and recognition from the French consulate in Chicago. They come up and they showcase that, so our second and fourth graders get to experience what that is to showcase that proficiency. So it's pretty amazing, and the demographics, I truly believe, is what makes our school a special place.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to, I love the equity of it, and it's just so good to see how that's working. Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment on this item? Thank you. I see President Peterson.
Just want to say thank you for the work that you've done as principal and what all your staff are doing. It's another example of being MPS proud. What you laid out is so unique in this country, and it's such an opportunity for people in Milwaukee to take advantage of. So thank you.
And I'll just add a comment. So I'm proud that Milwaukee French Immersion is in District 2, so I get to visit that school. Yes, I have to give a little shout out. And I will say from my experience being in the building, walking around the school, speaking with the students, it is an amazing environment to be in because of its diversity. The students are incredibly proud of being able to speak French. And I would also like to just say that they're also very respectful. They will, notice you in the hall, stop and talk to you, greet you. And it was very cute. After school one evening, there were a group of girls speaking English. They saw their French teacher down the hall, and they just went running to the teacher and immediately switched to speaking French. So they have that ability to be very flexible in their language, but it was very clear that they were very excited to be there and happy to speak French with their teachers. So just want to give a little shout out. Very proud that District 2 has Milwaukee French Immersion as part of its school base. So, and thank you for the presentation. It was wonderful. Do committee members, are there any further comments or questions? No? All right, well, thank you again, Dr. Nolan and Principal Hare, for the presentation. And always nice to have that on our agenda. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much. There being no further business before this committee, this meeting is adjourned.